Hello, this Pechacucha is about the Native Americans and the arrival of Columbus. The natives were perfectly fine living isolated from Europe, but when Columbus was able to embark on his voyage, society for the Native Americans was going to change. To explain the story of Columbus's arrival, we have to begin with the pre-Columbian culture among the Native Americans.
The pre-Columbian native culture differed depending upon location and environmental factors. The natives in the Great Plains hunted bison, whereas the West relied on fishing and irrigation systems. The East was dominated by farming, making it a suitable place for some of the largest settlements, such as the city of Cahokia, which had up to 40,000 residents. Talking about lifestyle, many natives were animists, which means they believed the natural world was made up of spirits and engaged in sun and ghost dances to appease these spirits. The society was matrilineal, which means that the mother's side was more dominant and engaged in more decision-making activities, whereas men went hunting or to war with other tribes. Now for some differences. In native societies, wealth was equally distributed, whereas Europeans sought to accumulate wealth. Native families were matrilineal, unlike Europeans who were patriarchal. Natives believed in spirits and a great creator, whereas Europeans believed in exclusive Christianity. These differences will become a big part of the conflicts to come.
While the Native Americans were isolated from Europe, Columbus was asking around for funding for a journey across the sea. The goal of his voyage was to find a faster route to Asia, and after many rejections from different countries, he got the King and Queen of Spain to finance his journey. The agreement was that Spain must essentially benefit financially from Columbus's journey. The King and Queen of Spain expected Columbus to find the faster way to Asia in order to gain an advantage over other countries and who gets to trade with Asia. With that, it was enough to convince the Spanish king and queen to pay for Columbus's voyage. Not only that, but the king and queen of Spain had hopes that Columbus will find lands rich with minerals while traveling. The king and queen of Spain gave Columbus 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The Santa Maria had 52 men, while the other 2 had 18 men each. Once the agreement was decided and set in stone, Columbus was ready to set sail for roughly the next 2 months. Even if he wasn't the one who actually made these discoveries, he still gets some credit.
Christopher Columbus also stumbled upon what he thought was Asia or India, but actually he found the Caribbean islands in Central America. And by this, he thought to establish a trade route all the way to India and come back with all the goods and spices, but ended up with something different. Christopher Columbus found many things on his journey to the Americas, as they so call it. He found gold, which was what he was looking for in the beginning, and that's what the king wanted him to bring back, as well as many other things. Gold was just one of the most important things he found. The second thing that he found on his voyage to the Americas was, as he so called it, Indians. Indians were basically used to find gold for him, as well as be slaves and help him along his journey in the unknown territory because they knew it better than him. Columbus also found various fruits that he brought back, as well as pineapple, potatoes, papayas. The list goes on and on. These were beneficial for the Spanish colony because they established more trade profit as well as bigger value for when they actually traded.
The Columbian Exchange was a trade established by Europeans who crossed the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas. Europeans colonized the Americas to mine raw materials and send them back over. The interactions between Europeans and natives changed the behaviors of both sides because of the introduction of their new cultures. Some important items that Europeans brought over were cattle, coffee beans, onions, sugarcane, and wheat. One very important thing that was brought over was horses, because it changed the way that the natives hunted. Cattle, pigs, and chickens changed the diet of the natives, and so did new fruits such as bananas, grapes, and peaches. The natives introduced the Europeans to cocoa beans, which makes chocolate. They also introduced them to peanuts, pineapples, pumpkins, potatoes, and maize, which was very important to the natives. They also introduced tobacco, which the natives used for medical purposes and in rituals. When Europeans brought it back over, it became the first trade item that was traded globally. Another thing that was traded in the Columbian Exchange was diseases. Europeans brought diseases over such as chickenpox, smallpox, measles, and the mumps. This devastated native populations and completely wiped some out. This was the biggest impact that the Columbian Exchange had on their population.
Diseases were also brought through animals because the Columbian Exchange introduced many new domesticated animals. Since they came in such large numbers and were in close proximity with the natives, they served as a major source of disease. There is no exact number to how harmful the impact of diseases were, but it is estimated that the population decreased by almost as much as 90%. Columbus's interactions with the Native Americans were just as devastating. Upon arrival, he wasn't sure if the Native Americans would be good servants, so he immediately enslaved 6 of them. This would help him retrieve many more items to bring back to Spain. But if the natives decided they didn't want to be ruled and disobeyed, Columbus would just have them killed. An example was the Hatui and the Taino genocide. This was well after Columbus arrived in the Americas and the natives were completely opposed to the Spanish. Their reaction was tying these natives onto crosses and burning them in front of their families. It had now went way beyond simply killing those who fought Spanish rule, but the natives would not give in and bash the Spanish until they had finally burned to death. The aftermath was disastrous. Within the first 50 years of Columbus's discovery, around 50,000 natives had died from numerous causes including starvation, suicide, disease, and war. There were also environmental changes that only sped the destruction of the native population over time. Columbus sailing to the New World would surely open up opportunities, but it is still tragic to see how the natives were affected by it.